श्री गुरवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे Hare Krishna. So welcome back everyone. We are looking at the second part of the 15th chapter today. So the 15th chapter, we'll start with the verse of Yamunacharya, the summary verse for the chapter from his work called as Gitartha Sangraha, and we are focusing only on we're focusing primarily on the commentary of Ramanujacharya, which is different, unique than what we have already studied from Bhagavad Gita as it is. So this is the verse which summarizes the 15th chapter. Achin Mishrat Vishuddhat Cha Chetanat Purushottamah Vyapanat Varanat Swamyat Anya Panchadashoditah. So Yamunacharya says that Purushottam Sriman Narayan, who is different from Achin Mishrat. Look at the word, it's a beautiful word in Sanskrit. Achin Mishrat means one who is mixed up with Achit. Okay, so who is mixed up with Achit? The Baddha Jivatma. Correct. Only the Baddha Jivatmas are mixed up with Achit. We need to really appreciate and relish these Sanskrit terminology. Achin Mishrat for Baddha Jivatma is used. It's a very simple word. Achin is Achit. And Mishrat means mixture. Someone who is mixed with Achit. And that is Baddha Jiva. Because we are mixed with this body and we are stuck in samsara. Achin Mishrat. Vishuddhacha. Vishuddha means who are purified. That means the Mukta Jivatmas. Right? So the Paramatma is different from this Baddha Jivatma and Mukta Jivatma. Okay. How is he different? Vyapanath, he pervades them. Bharanath, he bears them. Swamyat, he is their owner. Panchadashoditaha. This is told in the 15th chapter. So if you recall, in the first part, we focused on how Krishna is talking about. The first part of the 15th chapter is how the Muktatmas are subservient to him. So in order to tell that, before telling that the Muktatmas are subservient to him, he has to tell who is a Muktatma. So he starts talking about the banyan tree, the Ashwatha, the Ashwatha tree, and compares it to the samsara and so on. Right? We saw all that. Correct. So we have already seen till verse number 9. So we are now. So the first part of the 15th chapter was how the Lord is the master of all the Muktatmas. And that he says also specifically. He says that these are all mine. These are all my this thing. Right? And similarly, Baddhatmas also he says they are mine. Mamayavamsho Jiva. Okay. They are all mine, he says. Okay, so like that. So in this way, in fact, that 6th verse which was there, na natad basayate surya nashashanko na pava ityatva nanivartante tad dhama paramam mama. So there the dhama is translated as these mukta jivatmas, and that is mine, he's saying. So that is the focus. And then from 7th verse onwards, Krishna is saying how all the baddha jivatmas are his. And that's where we are. We have done verse number 9. So we will see from verse number 10 to verse 20 today. We'll be completing this chapter. Right. So let's quickly go to text number 9. 10. Yeah. We are in this verse. Uttaramantam stitam vape bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. Look at the translation. Those ignorant people who consider the body as their self do not perceive the Jivatma who is associated with the 3 gunas through the body. whether the Jivatma is encased in the prison of the body currently, or when he is experiencing happiness and sorrow in the body, or when he is departing from the body at the time of his death. However, those who are having the eye of knowledge which discriminates the Jivatma from the body clearly perceive the Jivatma as different from the body at all times. Okay, so this is a continuation of the discussion which was already there, where the Lord is talking about the Baddhatmas. And why is he saying Bunjanam, Utkramantam, Stitam? Three characteristics he's giving. Because in the previous verses, if you see, Krishna had just spoken about it, like Shariram Yadavapnoti Achya Putramatishwaraha. That means when the person gives up one body and goes to the other, he carries the conception. Right? We had discussed all that last time. So that is why he's talking about Utkramantam now. And Bunjanam, he had already said, right, in the 9th verse. Shrotram Chakshu verse. Vishayan Upasevate, he is enjoying. Right? So that is a Bunjanam. And Stitam, that means when he is sitting in this body. So all these three things Krishna has already spoken in the last three verses, 7, 8, and 9. So he is summarizing everything, saying that the people who, all these Baddhatmas, whether they are in the body, whether they are leaving the body, whether they are enjoying the body, all these are perceived only by Jnana Chakshusha. That means one who has knowledge, and one who doesn't have, he doesn't perceive it. So the word Mudha here actually comes from a Sanskrit word called Moha. That is actually the root word, it seems, of Mudha. The commentators say one shouldn't think it's some very big bad word or something. It just means that you have not understood. You are under Moha. So because of Moha, you have not understood. You are thinking the body is only the self. So you have not understood the difference. And so that's the commentary. By and large, Prabhupada's commentary also is very similar to this one. I'll not spend more time on this. We'll go ahead. Yatanto yogineschainam pashyanti atmanyavasthitam yatanto akritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasaha. The yogis who have taken refuge in me, the Supreme Person, the Master of the Universe, and embarked on performing karma yoga, etc., having thus purified their minds, are able to perceive through the eye of meditation the real nature of Jivatma is different from the body, even though they may be residing in the body. However, there are others who, even if they strive hard, but do not surrender themselves to me, they will not attain a purified mind, and thus not having the ability to perceive the Jivatma with a muddled mind, they will not perceive the real nature of the Jivatma. Okay. So here the translation here, the focus here is, again, it's, the translation is very similar in all translations. Prabhupada also almost says the same thing. By and large, yeah, it's the same. Just one or two points are different here in the commentary. So it is just again summarizing, elaborating the previous verse, and we are coming to the end of this particular section. What is the section? That the Baddhatma is the Lord's property. Okay. So here, Krishna, so why the yogi has been spoken as Karma Yoga? Ramanujacharya says that because Karma Yoga is necessary for you to have a pure mind so that you can do meditation. See, because what is the first part of the verse saying? Pashyanti Atmani Avasthitam, it says, right? That means one who is able to perceive through meditation the Atma sitting inside. So the question is, which is the yoga that is necessary to have been done so that you can sit and meditate? Okay, and the answer to that he says is Karma Yoga. So one who has done so the yogi, that's why he says the yogi here specifically means Karma Yogi. Because that Karma Yogi is the person who has the requisite qualifications to sit and do meditation. Okay, so this is discussed several times in the first 6 chapters. That Karma Yoga basically purifies you of the lower moods, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. Okay, and if you remember, I mean, in 3rd chapter we had elaborately discussed this. I'm repeating it here, but Ramanujacharya says, for example, why is Kama and Krodha discussed in the 3rd chapter in the end? He says it is because if you don't do Karma Yoga, you are going to fall prey to that Kama and Krodha. The whole idea is the Karma Yoga purifies you of your Rajoguna, Tamoguna, and thus you get the qualification to sit and meditate. Okay, so this is very, very important, right? So you can never forget this. And what is Karma Yoga? Again, in the 4th chapter, there were almost 13 different types of Karma Yoga mentioned. Reading the Veda, worshipping the various devatas, all that is considered Karma Yoga. 13 different types were said. Giving charity, all that was part of Karma Yoga. And of course, doing one's Varnashram duty as well. So all that is Karma Yoga. And this Karma Yoga, when done and purifies a person, that person only can meditate peacefully. So this is repeatedly said in the Gita. So one can never forget it. That's why whenever the topic of meditation comes in the Bhagavad Gita, like in this verse it is saying, na, Pashyanti Atmani Avasthitam. Then Ramanacharya always translates that yogi as Karma Yogi, because the Karma Yogi acquires the qualifications to sit and meditate. Right? Other than that, now see, now this word akritatmanaha, he emphasizes. He says akritatmanaha means the mind of a person for whom the samskara of karma yoga has not been done. Like that he says in the commentary. Akritatmanaha. Manaha only, see, akritatmanaha can be split at akritat and manaha. So the atmanaha, that atmanaha there is referring to the mind only. So he says, such a person who has not done the samskara of karma yoga. So he says karma yoga is like a samskara to be done. If that is not done, then you literally don't have a mind. That is why he says, Krishna is saying achetasaha. Achetasaha means like literally, he doesn't have a mind only. Okay, I mean, there is no mind. Prabhupada actually translates achetasaha as undeveloped mind. Basically, it means one doesn't have a mind only. So Ramanujara says, see, just like in the Puranas, there are such verses that if you don't hear the glories of the Lord, then you don't have a ear only. You have snake holes. Like in the Bhagavatam, the 2nd canto, I think it is chapter 3, it says, na? Belay, from that word it starts, those verses. This Karna which is there, it says you don't have ear only. It is snake hole if you have not heard the glories of the Lord. Similarly, you don't have a tongue only. It is just the tongue of the frog which is calling for death, croaking, like that. So he says here, one who has not done Karma Yoga, he doesn't have that samskara done, and because the samskara is not done on his mind, he cannot meditate. And because he cannot meditate, he cannot understand the nature of the jiva. That is how he gives commentary to this particular verse. Right, so it's beautiful because the original theme of the Bhagavad Gita is never forgotten here. Right, now we go to the next verse. Now, why is this verse coming? See, for the Ramanujara's commentary, one thing very special is for him the connection between verses, connection between chapters are very important. So he says, why is Krishna suddenly now talking about the sun and the moon? He says, hey, look, because till now, what was said in this chapter? In the first 6 verses, Krishna said how all the Muktatmas are his property. Then from Mame Vamsho Jiva Loke onwards until the previous verse, Krishna said all the Baddhatmas are also my property only. Krishna said. Now Krishna wants to say that all the Achetana is also my property. Achetana is in matter. That is also my property. So that means Baddhatma is my property, Muktatma is my property, Nityatma, of course, is his property only. And the Achetana, that is the matter, is also his property only. So in order to say matter is his property, how will he say matter is his property? So Krishna now starts talking about the sun, moon and fire. Why he talks about sun, moon and fire? Because just previously he said, na, in that 15.6 verse, what did Krishna say? Natat bhasiyate suryo nashashanko na pavakaha. Now please remember, that verse, why did he say that? What Krishna wanted to say there is, the Atma is self-luminous. See, again, I don't know whether I made this point when I spoke about 15.6. But in 15.6, the reason why Krishna is saying Natat Bhasayate Suryo Nashashanko na Pavakaha is to say that the Atma doesn't actually need anything to perceive. It doesn't need the sun, moon, or fire to perceive because it is self-luminous. Okay, the sun, moon, fire, and all are external luminous entities, right? So, I mean, this is something that we cannot perceive even at the middle of the night when our eyes are closed. We can perceive so many things in our mind continuously. It's going on because, of course, because the body is currently covering the Atma, we are limited. But otherwise, perception doesn't stop only. Correct. So that is why Krishna in 15.6 had said about the sun, moon, and fire. And now he says the same thing. So Krishna wants to say that all these luminous objects which are there, their essence is me. Now look at this verse. Yadaditya gadam tejo jagat bhasayate kilam yet chandramasi yachagno tat tejo vidyamakam. So what is Krishna saying? That effulgence which emanates from the sun, that which exists in the moon, that exists in the fire, all of these which illuminates the entire world, understand that the effulgence in these entities is my wealth. And all these entities have worshipped me, having received the effulgence as my blessing. Okay, so his point is that, hey, look, Krishna wants to say here, Yad Aditya Gatam Teja. That means the sun. What is the essence of the sun? Is the effulgence. If suppose the sun, if you remove the effulgence, then there is no sun only. Similarly, the moon also. It is the effulgence of the moon only that makes it the moon. And similarly, the fire also. It has an effulgence that makes it whatever it is, fire. That essence of effulgence which is there, Krishna says that is my wealth. Mamakam means here Ramanuja translates it in the commentary. He says it is my wealth, my property. He says this effulgence is my property. And all these devatas who have occupied these positions of sun, moon, and fire devata, they have got all this effulgence as a blessing from me. I have given it to them. Come on, take this effulgence. Sit and do this service to me. So this is how Krishna wants to say that all the matter is also my property. So in this way, the commentary is. So Ramanuja says, just like suppose someone says, that this person you see is a rich man, but all the money that he has is mine. Then immediately one understands right, that rich man is also subservient to him only, right? Because if you say that so and so's money is all mine, then that person is also yours only, literally. So like that. Taiste aradyate maya tebhya dattam iti vidihi. Whatever has been given to them by me since they worshipped me for several years. In the commentary, it says all these devatas have worshipped me for several years, and hence I have given them this ability to take on this position as the Surya, the Chandra, and so on. And hence it is like that. Well, yeah, so that is the commentary given by him. Rest everything is very similar. Now he continues this thing. Krishna is extending this topic. Okay, so next two verses also the same theme is there. What is the theme? All the matter is also my property, Krishna says. Gama vishyacha bhutani dharayami aham ojasa pushnami chaushadi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmaka. Entering and pervading the earth and also granting it the power to sustain, I support and sustain all the moving and non-moving entities through my unhindered power. Also becoming the moon, who is the nectar of the juice, who is of the nature of the juice of nectar, by granting the moon the power of nourishment. I nourish all the herbs and plants. Okay, so he's extending the argument, saying that whatever is in this world is all mine. That means all the achetana is mine. So for that, he's giving some examples. So the first example he's giving here is the earth power. So what is the main power of the earth? To bear anybody. Gama. So Ramanuja gives a very interesting definition of Govinda. Generally, we all hear the word Govinda thinking, in connection with cows, right? We say Govinda means the Lord of the cows or the Lord of the senses. Here he gives a third meaning to Govinda. Gam Vindanti iti Govinda. That means one who bears the earth is Govinda. Like that. Gam Vindati iti Govinda. So here the word Gam is there, which is referring to the earth. So Gam Vindati iti Govinda. That means the power of the earth to bear everyone. Then he says, the commentary, he says, hey, look, his bearing is different from the way we bear things. Just like if I want to bear something, I have to literally hold it up, right? I mean, with my hand, I have to hold my mobile phone or something to bear it. That is like very actively bearing. So anything we bear in this world, we have to very actively bear. Like, so Ramanujacharya says that the Lord is not bearing the earth like a pot is bearing water. The pot is actually very actively bearing the water. It's surrounded on all sides, holding it without any crack and so on. So when we hear that the Lord is bearing the earth, one shouldn't think that the Lord is literally, standing there having everything on his shoulder and struggling very hard like that, like an atlas or something. He says, no, that is why the word Ojasa is there. So for Ojasa, he gives a commentary saying Ojasa means by Sankalpa Shakti. So he says Ojasa means by Sankalpa Shakti, just by his Sankalpa he is bearing. Okay, so he says there are two types of bearing. One is very actively bearing, which is all what we do, but the other is just by Sankalpa bearing that we cannot do, only he can do. And so the Lord bears the earth by Sankalpa Shakti. So that is the meaning of the word Ojasa. Okay, and the another thing is about the vegetables who are getting taste from the moon's rays, which are also due to my power, he says. Thus, it is proved that everything is subservient to him. I mean, these are like really big things in this world. The light of the sun, the moon's ability to nourish vegetables, the earth's bearing capacity, gravitational force, and whatever you want to call all these things. But however, Krishna is going to give us one more example. That is in the next verse. This is the last example he gives about how he is kind of dominating all the matter. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashrita Pranapana Samayuktaha Pachamyannam Chaturvidam. Taking the form of the Agni called Vaishwanara and by bestowing the power of digestion to this Agni and being situated in this body of all living entities and combining with prana and apana air, I digest the four kinds of food, which is basically eaten, sucked, licked, and drunk, consumed by all beings. Okay, so first thing in the commentary says is that fire which is there needs air. So just like we all have this example, like even in a yajna, sometimes when there is a fire, and if it is not blowing very well, then the priest he will blow some air on it, either with some fan or with one long pipe or something. They will blow air into it. So fire always needs air, as we know. Right? I mean, if you go to the physics of it, it needs that air to activate it. So similarly, the Jataragni which is there in our stomach, for it to burn well, you need prana. Okay, so in the commentary he says, if your pranayam you do daily and if your pranayam is good, then only your food can get digested. Okay, in fact, in the Brahminical tradition, before we do Gayatri, pranayam is mandatory. Okay, so in the Trikala Sandhya, this Anulom Vilom, which is there is a mandatory part of it. One has to do minimum 10 pranayams before one does the Gayatri 3 times a day. Okay, so you use these two fingers like this, you close this, take it in, hold, and then leave it. Those 3 parts of it. And there are some mantras also chanted. So in this way, so he says here, this pranayam is done because your prana must be good. And if your prana is good, then your Jataragni will burn. Otherwise, it will not burn. So he quotes a verse from Mahabharata, very interesting. Apana pranayor madhye pranapana samahitah samanvitah samanena samyak pachati pavakah. So this is a verse in the Mahabharata says the prana, samana, apana, these 3 vayus which are there, which are in different directions in the body, these when they mixed with the food only, they digest the food in the belly. Like that this verse is saying. Okay, so that's why everybody must, I mean, literally this pranayam is considered very, very important. All Brahmanas who chant the Gayatri mantra in traditional sampradayas everywhere, you will always do minimum 10 pranayam or 20 before doing the Gayatri because of this particular thing, right? So And this prana which is there, so also this Jatarag, this Vaishvanara, because the Lord is considered the Vaishvanara, there is a Brahminical paddhati of accepting prasad. These days, perhaps most people don't do it much, but first the rice is put. Even in the Maharashtrian culture, I have seen that they first serve rice in the plate. And then using water, there is prokshana done. And then you take morsels of rice with ghee and you put it in your mouth, chanting pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha, udanaya swaha, samanaya swaha, like that. We chant like that. And then only one goes ahead and takes the prasad. Maybe some of you may have seen some very traditional temples, some Brahmin pujaris, etc. They do it. They do prokshana on the rice, and they will say prana. They will offer it. So this is considered an offering to whom? To the Vaishwanara. Okay, so this Vaishwanara is none other than Krishna who is there in the belly. So because he is there, first an offering is done to him. Okay, and the only offering is rice and ghee. That rice and ghee, you chant the mantra and you put it inside. And it is said that one should not bite that rice when you do this offering. It is supposed to be swallowed inside directly. Because it is like a ahuti done to the Vaishwanara which is there inside the belly. So in traditional Brahminical culture, this was done, though nowadays people are kind of reduced that practice drastically. But because it is part throughout India, this was always there. And this is connected to this particular verse. And Krishna is saying that he is that. Okay, so by until this verse, now what has been explained? Three things are explained till now in the 15th chapter. How all the Muktatmas are under me, how all the Baddhatmas are under me, how all the Achetana is under me. Achetana as in the matter. How that is also under me. So like that. So these three things are being set in now. Now Krishna goes on to the next theme. Very famous verse. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarve rahameva vedyo vedanta kride veda videva chaham. I, Bhagavan, the supreme ruler, am seated in the heart of all entities. From my will, memory, knowledge, which is gained through sense organs, inference, scriptural knowledge, and yoga, like our Pratyaksha Anumana Shabda, and by divine ways, that is yoga. That is a translation of Jnanam, Apohanam, and loss of cessation of knowledge acquired arise for the Jivatma. I alone am known through the whole of the Vedas. I am only the bestower of the fruits of the yajnas prescribed in the Vedas. I alone am the knower of the true meaning of the Vedas. Okay, so, so the connection is, see, till now what was Krishna saying? Krishna was saying that I enter the Gam Avishya. Gam means the earth. Avishya means what? To enter. Okay. But when he spoke about Chandra and stomach, he didn't say that I enter the Chandra. What did he say? I am that, he said, right? So if you just go back to the verses, yes, Chandramasi Echagno. I am only, literally he said, right? So like that only he spoke. I am only that, he said. So somebody may say, Are, the Lord enters or he is only that? What is the actual thing? So that is why he's saying Sarvasya. So the Sarvasya is being said to say, don't think that only the sun and moon I enter or the earth. In every living entity, I only enter. So see what happens now. So the commentary here makes this point. Any object, when you refer to any object by a particular name, okay, let's say we say lion. Okay, we say this lion. Okay, we have a name also to the lion, like Simba. Okay, so there is a lion called Simba. So we are calling the lion Simba. Now the Simba address, this addressing the lion as Simba, whom are we doing? At one level, somebody may say we are doing it to the body only. It is the body of the lion. But actually, more deeply, if you see, we are actually addressing the Atma, who is assumed the body of the life. Okay, he is the person. But at an even more deeper level, here in the commentary he says, you are actually addressing the Paramatma only. Why? Because the Paramatma is in the heart of the Jivatma. Now, this heart, there are two different interpretations here. One commentary here basically says that the Paramatma is within the Jivatma. That means in the Jivatma only is sitting the Paramatma. Okay. Or though some people feel that the Paramatma is sitting adjacent, like, but this is also one conception that he is inside the Jivatma. So whatever it is, so the point is when you address that line as Simba, at one level it is the body, at a more deeper level it is the Atma, at an even more deeper level it is actually the Paramatma only we are addressing, because he is there in everybody's heart, and it is only due to him everyone, every animal, human, lion, whatever, is doing whatever it is doing. So like that. So that is why when the Lord says, I am only Chandra, it is not wrong, because he is only Chandra actually. So this Chandra at one level, it is the Chandra Loka, and then there is a deity, the person Chandra, like the Devata called as Chandra, and in his heart there is a Paramatma, okay, who can also be ultimately called as Chandra only. This is very important because we are going to come to this in this verse again in the commentary. Okay, so that's how he says we should understand this. So that means everything is every person can be ultimately meant to be the Paramatma only, because the Paramatma is there. That address can ultimately refer to him. Okay. Then he says this word Sannivishtaha. Vishtaha means to be situated. Sannivishtaha means specially situated. Okay. Specially seated. What do you mean specially seated? See, so many people may be inside, like Vayu also may be Vishtaha in ourselves. But Vayu is not controlling us. But this Lord who is there, he is inside us and is controlling us also. So there is this very famous verse in the Upanishad which says, Anta Pravishta Shasta Paramatma. Anta Pravishta, that means he enters inside Shasta, that means he controls. Shasta means to control, and that is the Paramatma. So like that, there are Upanishadic verses. Okay, so he is sitting inside and controlling. As in controlling, as in he is only giving direction to everything. So even when you say Indra or any Devata, ultimately it is Paramatma. See, now I'll tell you how this is getting connected. That is why here when Krishna is saying, na, I am only the to be known through the whole of the Vedas. Look at the translation. Sarve Vede Ahameva Vedya. Through the entire Veda, I am to be known. Somebody may say, Are, we have heard that 97% of the Vedas are Karma Kanda. They are talking about Indra, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, different devatas. How can you say that all the Vedas are only referring to Krishna? No. The point is, even when the verses are there about Indra, Chandra, etc., it depends on who you are. If you understand that it is ultimately the Lord in the heart of Indra to whom we are praying through these Vedic mantras, then that prayer to Indra also is a prayer to Narayana. You get the point. So there may be a prayer in the Vedas to Indra, but that prayer also can be seen as a prayer to Lord Narayana only, because it is Narayana in the heart of Indra who is making Indra move and do everything. So when we are glorifying Indra, we can see that as we are glorifying Narayana. In fact, I'm just making a mention here. I once heard one Tamil scholar's commentary, a very famous scholar. So there is a famous Vedic chant called as Rudra, which is by the name it seems to be suggesting that Lord Shiva, correct? Namaste Rudra Manyava Uto, like that it goes on. Right? So it seems as if it is addressing Lord Shiva. But there is a whole commentary where that entire mantras, Rudra mantra, can also be seen as addressing Lord Ramachandra, and from the same Sanskrit. So the Sanskrit is the same, but they explain the whole thing as Lord Rama, like that. So that's how you should see this verse. Ahameva Vedya. That's why in all the Vaishnava Sampradayas in South, not only the Sri Vaishnavas, even the Madhvas, they lay a lot of emphasis on Vedic chanting, reciting the Vedas. Reciting the Vedas. And you may recite any part of the Veda, because every part of the Veda is considered glorifying Narayana. So they say it's all your mood, that's it. If you are very clear, I am addressing Lord Narayana, then for you reciting that Veda, you are addressing Narayana. Because Krishna is also saying here, I am only known through every Veda. So that is why he translates here, through the whole of the Veda. See, the translation is Sarvai Vedai. So it's not that only some part of the Veda Krishna is known. See, look at the verse also. Veda is just Sarvai. Every verse in the Veda ultimately refers to Narayana. This is the point here. Okay, so that's why in most of these traditional Vedic Vaishnava Sampradayas also, they see reciting the Veda as worshipping Narayana only. They don't see that this is worshipping Ganesha or Indra or Chandra. The verse may be like that, but they say ultimately all this is worshipping Narayana. And we will, so they consider that as bhakti only. That means chanting the Veda is considered part of bhakti because it is, you are glorifying Narayana. That's it. And glorifying Narayana is bhakti. Because the Veda is meant to understand Narayana and not one part of the Veda. You can't say only 1% of the Veda is meant to understand Narayana. No. Krishna is saying here, Sarve, entire Veda is to understand Narayana. So like that commentary he gives here. Okay. And Vedanta Krid, Vedanta Krid, Vedanta. So what he says is Vedanta means what? So one is of course Vedanta. Vedanta is the Vedanta Sutra, you can say. Prabhupada translates it like that. Here he offers a different translation. He says Vedanta Krita means, he says, at the end of Veda, what will you do? That means if you have studied all the Vedas, what will you do? You will understand that all the yajnas which are there in the Veda, Krishna is only to be pleased by those yajnas. He is the only bestower of all the fruits. Okay, so that's why all Vedic yajnas are also done by all these Vaishnava Sampradayas, because they feel that all krita means action. Because after reading the Veda, one will do yajnas, and all these yajnas are meant to please Krishna. It is his own, for his pleasure only we are doing it. And he is only to be known by every Vedic line. That's what they say. Veda Videva Chaham. Veda Videva Chaham ke liye also he says that survey you have to apply. That means he is the knower of the every word of the Veda. So that type of a commentary he gives. And of course, Matta Smriti Jnanam Apohanam. We already saw that particular thing. So beautiful commentary here. Right? So let's go to the next part. So now we are coming to the last part of this chapter where Krishna is talking about why this chapter itself is called as Purushottama Yoga. Dvavimau Purusho Loke Kshara Eva Cha Kshara Sarvani Bhutani Kutasto Kshara Uchyate. It is very well known through the authoritative means of knowledge that there are two types of persons, Kshara and Akshara. All the entities starting from Brahma down to the blade of grass in the material universe are called as Kshara, as their Jivatma associated with a non-sentient body which is perishable. The liberated Jivatmas, Muktas, are called Akshara as they are liberated from association with mutable Prakriti. Okay, so here there is a very, there is a difference between Ramanuja's translation and Prabhupada's translation. This one word, I'll focus on that, the word Loke. The word Loke. So Prabhupada translates Loke as this world, because in one sense directly that's what it means, right? Dvavimau Purusho Loke, in this world, like that Prabhupada translates. Maybe it comes from some Acharya's commentary. Though Ramanuja translates it differently. So he argues, he starts by saying that I will not translate Loka as this world. He says because in this world, nobody knows only Muktatma. Okay, because this verse is saying that it is famous. It is, there are these two classes of beings which are known. So he says in this world nobody knows Muktatma other than some few devotees. They don't know only who is Muktatma. And they don't even know that they are Vaddhatma. So he says loke, so he gets another translation. So there's a verse which says lokyate anena iti lokaha. That means with whatever you understand things in the world, that is called loka. Things in the world, things in this loka, lokyate anena iti lokaha. That means with whatever, with what is it that you use to understand things in this world, that is called loke. And what is it that you use to understand things in this world? The three pramanas, pratyaksha, anumana, shabda. So he says here loke means pramana. That means the three pramanas. So he says kshara and akshara are known through the three pramanas. That means because from the shabda praman we know that there is akshara, there is liberated souls also. So that is how he translates. A little different translation. So I just thought I'll emphasize it. The rest everything is the same. So kshara is what? Sarvani Bhutani. That's understood. All of us, everybody, from Brahma to the ant, everything is kshara. So kshara means fallible. Now, what do you mean by fallible? Why it is called fallible? Because we have this body that is perishable. That is why we are called as fallible. Because our body is going to fall apart one day. That is why we are called fallible. Though actually we are not fallible. Because somebody may say, Are full Gita was talking about Atma, infallible. Suddenly you are saying they are fallible. No, because we have a body that is going to fall down, we are called fallible. And the Akshara, the liberated ones, are called as Kutastha. No, that's again interesting translation. Kuta. So, what is this Kutastha? So, he says Kuta is a traditional stone in which the iron is hit. So, it's a particular stone in which you put the iron and hit, and then you will make a knife, a spoon, anything you can make. But the kuta doesn't change only, because the kuta is like an iron, this big stone in which you can put anything. That thing that you put inside will transform, but the kuta doesn't transform. So the liberated souls are called kutastaha because they are like that stone. They may have any external form, like they may take the body of a lion in the spiritual world, they may take the body of a cow, they may take the body of a parrot, they may be a gopa, gopi, anything. But their essential nature still doesn't change. It is like that kuta. That is why kutastha. Anyway, that's a translation. Right. So all these kutas are akshara. They are all infallible. So like that translation is given. Yeah, let's go ahead. The 17th verse. Uttamah purushasthu anyah paramatmeti udahritah yo lokatrayamavishya bibartavya ishvara. Beautiful verse. The Supreme Person, who is different from these two kinds of beings, Kshara and Akshara, permeate and exist as the inner self of the non-sentient, the Baddha and the Mukta, and bears all entities and rules over all the three classes of entities. And he is ever without change because of these characteristics. The Supreme Person is spoken of as the Paramatma. Beautiful verse. It's defining Paramatma here. So Uttama Purusha says, is Uttama Purusha one of the above categories? No, he is different than both. Okay, that's why last time, if you remember, I was saying, right? So the example they give is of the hand. The small finger is the Achit. The ring finger is the Baddhatma. The middle finger is the Muktatma. Index finger is the Nityatma. And the thumb is the Paramatma. Like that he says. So the Paramatma is the Lord of the Nityas, the Muktas, the Baddhas, and the Achit. As in, among all the 5 fingers, it seems that this finger is the most important. That means any finger does anything using only with this finger. Only when it comes along with this finger, the thumb, it can do something. So like that. So the Paramatma is like that. He's different from all these other categories. Okay. Now, another very interesting translation here, Lokatrayam is said. Lokatrayam. Now, see, Prabhupada translates Lokatrayam as 3 worlds, which is like the regular translation one may say, because that's how it looks like. Lokatrayam is 3 worlds. Ramanuja again says that no, why? He first raises that argument. He says that can I translate it as 3 words? He says I can, but I will choose not to. He says because if I say 3 words, till now whole chapter Krishna is saying he is the Lord of Achit, Muktatma and Baddhatma. And Muktatma is beyond the 3 words. So if If I say Lokatrayam as 3 words, then it will seem as if I'm minimizing the power of Paramatma. Because he is not just the Lord of the 3 worlds, he is the Lord of the Muktatma also. Correct? So that is why he says Lokatrayam means, here again the word Loka means the same thing. Loka means whatever is understood by Pramana is called Loka. And what can be understood by the Pramanas? 3 things you can understand. Ultimately, that means whatever Pramana you use, ultimately you have to understand that there is matter, there is the conditioned soul, and there is the liberated soul. That's it. That's all that exists. Okay. And this Lord who is there, he is the master of all these 3. So that is why he translates Lokatrayam here as Achit, Baddha, and Mukta. And the Nitya who is there is kind of combined, merged with Mukta. Though that's just a technical difference. That Nitya is one who never fell down, and Mukta is one from here who goes back to the spiritual world is called Mukta. But the one who is always there is called Nitya, but essentially they are of the same nature. Anyway. Okay, so that's why he translates Ishwara. So he says Ishwara means, see, again he says Ishwara, if I say Lokatrayam is 3 words, then Ishwara means Paramatma is the Lord of the 3 worlds. Like that the translation will become. Ramanuja says, I will wish to say that he is the Ishwara of the 3 classes of entities: matter, conditioned living entity, and liberated living entity. Like that. Mukta. So like that he says. Bibharti, bearing everybody. See, this bearing everyone means is only because of him as the Paramatma that we exist. So it's an inseparability. And this is why, in the verse also of Yamunacharya, he had said, "Na, I bear everyone. Bharanath, Haranath, I maintain everyone. And I am the Ishwara of everyone." So all that is coming here. Ishwara, without any change. Avyaya, he is without any change. Because the other change, right? Achit keeps changing, that is a fault. Baddhatma's fault is he's attached to Achit. Muktatma's fault, Ramanujacharya says, is once upon a time he was attached to matter. But the Lord is Avyaya, he never changes. He has no fault like all this. Like that. So that is the translation he gives to this particular verse. Yeah. Yasmaksharamatiitoham aksharaadapi chottamaha atosmi loke vedecha pratita purushottama. For the reasons I have stated above, I am immensely superior and I transcend both the Kshara Purusha and the Akshara Purusha. And that is why I am celebrated in the Vedas, in the Smritis, Itihasas, and the Puranas, which elicitate the meaning of the Vedas as Purushottamaha. See, again here, please remember the word Lokana. Prabhupada again translates it as world only, because Prabhupada has that consistent translation of Loka as world. But he says Loka here, he translates it as all the various types of pramanas. And what are the pramanas? Smriti, Itihasa, Purana. See, the beauty is that same Loka has been translated differently by Ramanuja in the last 3 verses. But it's all based on a consistent idea that Loka Akhyatiti Lokaha. That means to understand things in the world, the pramanas, and using that you can take different meanings. So in this context, he says Loka means all the Smriti, Itihasa, Purana. And I'm celebrated in the entire Vedic Loka, Vedas in all these things as Purushottama, like that. So Api, so this word Api is emphasized a lot by all the commentators. Api means even superior to the Muktatma. It is not just Baddhatma I am superior to. So when South Indian poet, he says very beautifully, "Oh Lord, you are poor," he says. Why are you poor? Since you don't have anyone equal to or superior to you. He says, we have so many lakhs of people who are equal to us and superior to us. And if somebody doesn't have something that we have, I consider that man poor. And because you don't have what I have, oh Lord, certainly you're poor. It's a particular mood, basically in line with this particular verse of the Gita, which is saying that the Lord is superior to all. Now the last 2 verses is nothing but the Falashruti. We just look that in it. Yomam evam sammudo janadi purushottamam sasarvavit bhajatimam sarvabhavena bharata. Hey Arjuna, the one who knows about me, the Supreme Person, Purushottama, in this manner as explained by me, without any delusion, such a person knows everything that has to be known as the means of attaining me and worships me. through all the modes of worship prescribed for attaining me. Beautiful translation. So he says that what is the falashruti of knowing all this? Sarvavid. Sarvavid means he says doesn't mean that he knows carpentry, he knows plumbing or whatever. He knows everything that has to be known to attain him. This chapter, what it is saying, right? The Lord is the master of the muktas, the baddhas, and achit. And he is bearing everyone, he is maintaining everyone, he is the Swami of everyone. To understand this much, then that basically means you have understood literally everything, because this is all that you need to know in order to worship him through all means of worship. So Sarva Bhavena, he says Sarva Bhavena means there are so many ways of worshipping the Lord. All of them you will employ. Because if you know, then you will automatically want to worship Krishna. And by worshipping Krishna, you will attain Krishna. That's the last verse. Iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam mayanaka etad buddhva buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata. Oh, sinless Arjuna, born in the esteemed sinless Bharata dynasty. Thus, in this manner, this highly esoteric doctrine regarding the Supreme Person has been instructed by me. By learning this, one has learned all the knowledge that is to be imparted about me and the means of worshipping me, and becomes one who has fulfilled all that has to be done. Okay. So one may say, Iti Guhyatamam Shastram. This word Shastra, does it refer to entire Bhagavad Gita? So Ramanujacharya says, no, it refers only to this chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This chapter, Purushottama Yoga, which is there, he says Shastra in this verse refers only to this chapter. And this chapter, if you know this chapter, then what will happen? Kritakrityascha. I mean, it's like I heard some other person saying this. Many times we hear this in our scripture. If you know this, you will achieve perfection. So somebody will say, Are, just by knowing, how will you achieve perfection? So this devotee gave this example. He said, it is like, suppose there is a cricket match, going on. And at a very critical time, there is some very famous batsman who comes to bat. Just like when we were all children, one of the most famous and most dangerous batsmen in the world was Vivian Richards. When people, suppose if Vivian Richards would come into the field, just by looking at him walking into the field only, people will win, chalo, ye aa gaya to hum jeet gaye match. It doesn't mean that the match is already won. Obviously, when Vivian Richards will have to hit some 4s and 6 and whatever and win the match. But the very fact that Vivian Richards walks into the field itself gives that confidence to everyone. I mean, he has convinced, match has been won now. Or like some very famous bowler comes to bowl the last over of the match, and we're very, oh, this person is bowling the last over means done, match done. We will surely win the match. So something like that, he said. It's a mundane example. So here, that means if you know this Purushottama Yoga, job done. Why job done? Because if you know, then you will practice only. Na? Kritakrityascha. Kritakritya means to practice. So you will practice. There is no doubt only that you will practice. So that is why this section of the Gita, again, please try to understand this. So 13, 14 and 15 chapter, Ramanujacharya and Yamunacharya both have been consistently saying, these three chapters are talking about Achit, Chit and Ishvara, Tattva. They are talking about Tattvas. Tattvas are Achit, Chit and Ishvara. Where Achit and Chit in the Bhagavad Gita was spoken elaborately in the first 6 chapters, and Ishvara was spoken in the middle 6 chapters. But whatever was left out, many things that were left out, all that is being elaborated now. Even if you see the 15th chapter, many of these concepts are already said earlier. For example, in the 9th chapter, 7th chapter, Krishna had said, I am only the sun, I am the moon. These concepts he had said, but still it was not presented this particular way. So this is like an appendix, making it even more clear that the Baddhatma, Muktatma, I am superior to all that, like that. So like that he said. Now the 16, 17, 18, Ramanuja and Yamunacharya say this is related to Hitam. So there is always 2 things, Tattva and Hita. Tattva means truths. Truths are only 3, matter, condition, so Chit. So Atma, he can be Baddhatma, Muktatma, Nityatma. But Atma. And third is Ishvara. These 3 things are only Tattvas to be understood. Once you have understood matter, once you have understood the concept of Atma and the 3 types of Atmas, Baddha, Mukta, Nitya, and you have understood Ishvara, you have understood Tattva. Then we have to understand Hita. Hita means what to practice. And what to practice is the yoga system. And so Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. and whatever was left out from the yoga system, because Krishna did speak about yoga system also in the first 12 chapters of the Gita, that now Krishna is going to speak in 16, 17, 18. And the 16th chapter commentary was very, very special. I was quite amazed to read the 15th chapter 16th chapter commentary of Ramanuja. This we will begin next time. And as I said earlier, 16th and 17th chapter also we will do in 2 sessions. And 18th chapter will take some time, because it slowly builds up. And again, the commentary is very beautiful as we go ahead. Okay, we end here. Any questions or comments? Anyone? Raise your hand, please. Thank you. So go ahead, Vaibhavanandu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, thank you. So this is Prabhuji Purushottam Yoga, and it has to be read at specific times. And why the specific chapters have been given specific timings. For example, you read Purushottam Yoga in Kartik, let us say. So, any reasoning for that?
See, among the chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, some chapters are very, very special. Especially the 15th is considered the most special of all, actually, because it's glorifying the Ishvara. It is glorifying the Supreme Lord. I've seen actually that across sampradayas, across India, 15th chapter is read almost by everybody. Also because of its significance. It's talking about Ishvara. It is making the tattva so clear. There's hardly anything which makes the tattva so clear that, in fact, here, if you see the Vaishnava commentary, they just go all horns blazing, as they say, trying to defeat the Advaita concept. Because they make it very clear. This chapter is making it very clear that the Baddhatma is different, Muktatma is different, matter is different, and Ishvara is different. So there is no chapter, and it talks about this chapter speciality is talking about how we are conditioned in this world. That example of Urdhva Mula Madhya Shakam and all that. So it's a beautiful chapter which summarizes all the tattvas like no other chapter does. And I believe that's the reason why it is most often recited and recommended to be recited. Generally, most people by heart this chapter. Even in childhood, I would go to Chinmaya Mission in childhood, and they made me learn 15th chapter first. Chinmaya Mission people. They taught entire 15th chapter, they made us recite. And this was like when you're 10-year-old. I didn't know anything in Gita except 15th chapter when I came to ISKCON because of this background. So I think across all sampradayas, they give importance to this.
Yeah. Another thing is that, I came to your home, I could see that, rice and ghee is given. But in North India, we never experienced this.
I'm surprised. From Maharashtra onwards till south, everywhere we do what is called as parishejana. Parishejana means that's the Sanskrit term for it. When there is rice and ghee put, then you have to circumambulate it, sprinkle it, prokshana with the water, with the mantras, and take one by one the grain. They do that actually. I don't think it would. I wouldn't say that it was not there in the north. It is certainly has to be there because this is a Vedic culture which has to be there everywhere.
Maybe rice has more significance in South India.
One second, my wife is saying. Yeah. So my wife is saying here that even Panini, he is actually from Punjab. Apparently, he writes about Panini is the famous person who in their grammar, right? He talks about it. It seems Odhana. So this whole thing of doing this particular thing, I only think that in some parts of India, this culture must have gone so much out that people have forgotten only something like this existed. But even I remember seeing even television serials of Mahabharata where they would do this, doing the prokshana and then eating the food.
Yeah. Prokshana is of course done, Prabhuji. Just that rice thing.
Yeah. But so that's why the ghee is also put, because you offer the deity anything with ghee because it has to be connected to cow, right? So
Correct.
where the ghee is put, and then you take morsel by morsel and without chewing it, you swallow it whole as an offering to the Paramatma Vaishwanara who's in the belly. That's the mood of it. Yeah.
Hmm. And last thing, that this Sandhya Kalam, so what all is Varjit in Sandhya Kalam? Is it, eating also is not allowed, or?
Generally, they say one should not eat. So maybe
Hmm.
it's a little more difficult, maybe in modern times, to achieve so much. But if somebody can try to eat before or much later, the better.
Okay. And it is, how much time after sunset?
Generally, it's a muhurta, so it's like 48 minutes or something. I'll check that,
Okay.
but I believe it is 48 minutes. Or more.
Okay. Thank you, Guruji.
Anybody else with any other question? Chakrapani Krishna Prabhu said something in the chat. What was that? Didn't get it. We do it that way, similar process in the north. No, it isn't. Yeah. Chakravarti Krishna Prabhu, in the Madhvas also, the chanting of the Veda is considered very important, right? It's seen as connection to Krishna. Am I right in saying that? You're there? Okay, I think we just left that. Okay, anyone else with any other thing? Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. The Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakti.
Hare Krishna.